Thanks for being with us on a Wednesday. It is Karsch and Anderson on 97.1. College basketball last night. Michigan got out of the gate quickly, looked like the team that they looked like earlier this year, and really took it to Indiana. The DeVries kid got white hot in the second half, and they cut it down to, I think, 14, which is where it ended. But Wolverines rolled IU, of which Indiana fans give 0 Fs about. Hard to imagine, but I would imagine that if you're an Indiana fan, you don't particularly care what happened to your basketball team last night. Michigan State just concluded the Pacific Northwest trip with a 2-0 sweep of Washington and Oregon, as those two teams head for a showdown a week from Friday, first game at the Breslin Center. Between now and then, Michigan's got a big showdown with Nebraska, who remains undefeated and ranked in the top 10, and they are legit under Fred Hoiberg. So, but Izzo said something last night we want to get to today at 12:20. In the meantime, lots of Piston talk to open the show. Midway point of the season, 31-10. You can continue to vote and comment on our Twitter poll about what they need to do at the trade deadline. Make a big move, make a small move, or stand pat. There's some details included if you want to go vote and comment. Follow us on Twitter at DougandGator971. I don't know if you caught this, but there's a story in The Athletic today.
Okay.
About MLB owners enraged by Kyle Tucker Dodger deal will push for salary cap, quote, no matter what. Just reading a little bit from the story from Evan Drellick. Major League Baseball owners are raging in the wake of Kyle Tucker's free agent agreement with the Dodgers, and it is now a 100% certainty, that's in quotes, 100% certainty, that the owners will push for a salary cap. Quote is, these guys are going to go for a cap no matter what it takes. More here. Owner frustration has reached a boiling point. Two other ownership sources took a bit of a softer approach, positioning the Tucker deal as validation of the longstanding position that revenue and payroll disparity in baseball needs to change. Again, reading in part from the story, owners still have to determine what a salary floor and ceiling they're comfortable proposing, a discussion that is expected to be a topic at next month's regularly scheduled owners meeting. The floor in particular could be a contentious issue for smaller market teams. It would take at least 8 owners of 30 to effectively hold up a labor deal. Look, the biggest problem I have with baseball's current structure is apparently this Dodger TV deal that's grandfathered in, that they don't have to share a whole bunch of their TV revenue. And it's given them a competitive advantage, not only over the small market teams, but over everybody. And honestly, I don't know how that can be continued to be the case.
Well, I think they would have to stop the grandfather clause, and then that changes things dramatically, and then you can get to a cap more easily. It's not going to be easy. I said in the crosstalk with the guys, I got a feeling that we're not going to have baseball in 2027.
Yeah. When
the CBA expires effectively January 1st of 2027, after the stroke of midnight, I just don't see them getting a deal done anytime soon. They don't act with any sense of urgency in baseball, and it's maddening because we've seen the other way to do it, like the NHL. Just get it done. The NHL had a work stoppage, and it was brutal. But what they emerged from that work stoppage was a business model that made all the sense in the world. Everything tied to revenues, and everything's out front and transparent. Everybody knows what's going on. And the cap will rise and fall based on the revenues of the league. And everybody signs off on it, and everybody's happy about it. That's why it was easy to get ahead of their next deal by over a year to get it done.
Bravo, NHL.
Bravo, NHL. So, I mean, that's out there. Can Major League Baseball do it? Major League Baseball's got bigger hurdles to get through. And they need to get through this. There absolutely has to be a floor. You got to hold the teams accountable, the smaller market teams that aren't spending that much money. If you're not going to spend the money, then you frankly shouldn't have the franchise, because you're trying to compete with 29 other teams at this point.
They're setting up a system that allows a smaller market team, and we're not talking necessarily here about the Tigers. Let me be clear about that. Right. But that allows a smaller market team to actually compete in a bidding war against a bigger market team is when it feels like an equitable way to do it, because half the league shouldn't exist just to be mere fodder for the big market teams. And that's what it feels like, the system we have that's set up. Like, we got this convoluted, complex arbitration system, but it's the only way that the Pirates can hang on to Paul Skeens.
Yeah, and they won't.
And they won't when eventually the clock strikes midnight and his service time allows him to be an undrafted or an unrestricted free agent. And the players should have those rights as well. But the issue is that the disparity between the haves and the have-nots is so great. And the Dodgers have such a built-in advantage with $1 billion TV deal that they don't have to share a portion of it because of previous, by the way, misdeeds of previous ownership.
Right. They had to go through bankruptcy.
And
how ironic is that? Previous ownership had to go through bankruptcy. The next group buys it up, and where we're at now, this team has an insane payroll. It's like it never happened.
Yeah.
Because there's no penalties to them for it.
None.
It's crazy. And you look at the models like, okay, the NFL. Every owner in the NFL is completely satisfied. They're making money hand over fist. The players make more money every year. The salary cap goes up every single year. We don't hear about smaller market teams in the NBA complaining too much. They got a salary cap in the NBA. They got luxury tax, and you could go above and beyond. And, the league is set up pretty well. NHL, we've already talked about. Why can't baseball get there?
I don't know.
I don't know what it's going to take. Is it because baseball plays twice as many games as any other league? The seasons are just as long, but I'm not sure how you get to where they have to get to. But there have to be major changes to their salary structures and setting up a salary cap and floor. Yeah, probably the NHL and I don't think comparing football is the same, because football has a national TV contract that everybody's under the same umbrella. That's not going to be the same as the other sports. No, but this is what I'm wondering about. So does this mean that, okay, because now you've got this deal, like there's the 9 teams and the Tigers are one of them that are affected because of the problems with FanDuel, that Major League Baseball might take over for those markets. Okay, well, baseball is going to take over for those markets and the money's going to be spread out equally. Is it possible that baseball can work out a deal with markets like New York and Los Angeles, because New York's another team that's got this big advantage because of the TV contract. Yes, they have to give up money to baseball that the Dodgers apparently don't have to at the same percentage, but the Yankees are still pocketing a pretty good sum out of that money.
Yeah.
So is there a way where baseball just oversees all of the TV deals, spreads it out equitably, and then you can still have a luxury tax if those teams want to go crazy and spend money, okay. But now it's dependent on, not because you've got an advantage with a TV deal, but because you've sold more tickets. So you've done the other stuff that you're supposed to do, that you're willing to part with that money.
248-539-9797, Jeff in South Lyon. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, I have a question about the salary cap if they instituted that in Major League Baseball. And my question is, so say they make it $250 million as an example. What happens to all the teams with the players that force them over that limit? I don't remember what happened in the other leagues when they.
In baseball, I mean, they have this now. In baseball, there's a threshold that if you go beyond it, there's a luxury tax.
But his point is, if they put it in this year, I think your point is, Jeff, if they put it in this year, what about those teams that are already over that? Do those contracts get grandfathered in if they've already committed more than what the cap would be?
Wouldn't it still be a luxury tax paid on it?
Well, not if it's a hard cap.
Well, I don't think you're not going to get a hard cap.
I think that's what the owners
want.
want.
Tucker is an example. For the next 4 years, they're going to be over for the next several years if they don't sign anybody else. Just as an example. So I was wondering, are they forced to offload players or not?
I don't know.
I wouldn't. I think that, like, if you're baseball, you're probably going to have to go with an NBA type model as opposed to the NHL model or the NFL model. Well, the NFL model is wild because you can manipulate the salary cap in ways that other leagues don't do it. So I would imagine it'd be like the NBA. That yes, you have this. I don't even know if you can call it a hard cap in the NBA. There's a cap for sure, and then beyond that, it's luxury tax money. I would imagine baseball is going to try to fall into that because there are way too many contracts that would be affected by this.
Mike is next. Hello, Mike.
Hey, how you guys doing? Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Does every team have a TV deal?
Yeah, I believe so. There was The time I seem to recall somebody's TV deal went under. Well, the Tigers didn't there for a minute.
Well, and they're having problems with it now.
Yeah.
Now there are 9 teams that are in the same boat here.
Well, my thought is why can't Major League Baseball step in and say, okay, well, every team's got a TV deal. So what they do is they take that money, every team's money, and they divide it by all the teams. Instead of the Dodgers getting $1 billion, instead of the Yankees getting what, $1 billion.
Well, teams might bristle at that, but you know what? You need, if you're the Dodgers, you need opponents to play. Like, you need other teams to play. Unless this league is going to be the Yankees, the Mets, the 2 Chicago teams, the Rangers, the Dodgers, like, unless you're going to make it an 8-team league, you need opponents to play. So I have no issue with what you're talking about. But, of course, like, everybody's got to give a little. Like, if they don't want to cap, okay, if players don't want to cap and the owners, well, what are the owners going to get then? All the small market owners would love that kind of revenue share.
Yeah, they also need to have some kind of agreement between the players and the owners about, is there a way that they can agree, which I doubt, but is there a way they can agree to try to slow the rate of which the salaries are growing? Because they're growing exponentially at this point, which is, I mean, when and this is why the whole impetus of the article was Kyle Tucker signing a $60 million a year contract.
Yep.
He's Kyle Tucker. He's good, but he's not a $60 million a year player. But the Dodgers can spend more than anybody else because of the aforementioned TV deal.
248-539-9797. Let's get to what Izzo said last night and whether or not you can relate. That is at 12:20 here on Karsch and Anderson on 97.1.